Hey there, everyone. This is an exciting video to be recording today. This is the initial introduction of our sister project, sister platform, getsignals in to our Leadfwd community. I have already showed a number of our existing Leadfwd users some of this in some previews, and some of you have had some early access to play around with it in a dev environment. But this is kind of its first unveiling since I started kind of puzzling together this project. So really quick, just taking a quick step back, because I'm sure a lot of you have no idea what it is I'm talking about yet. If we take a look at just the last 12 to 16 months, there's been a stronger shift away from poor pipeline practices, which is what I'll refer to it as. And let's call it, old, high volume, low effort, spray and pray outbound. Believe it or not, it's still quite prevalent, but there's more noise around, doing something that is different because frankly, pipelines are just drying up and it's not working anymore. So originally, we conceived, our Chrome extension and focusing on signals and triggers from LinkedIn as the solution for that. And at the time, our upstream was, working primarily with BDRs, solopreneurs, and founder-led sales within the Leadfwd community. So it worked very well for that, and it will still continue, working very well for that. And then about a year ago, as we started getting, more traction, we've seen a lot more demand coming from small to mid-sized marketing teams who were, in many cases, operating on behalf of some folks on their sales team and kind of taking up the slack on handling the outbound. So they were quite taken by, what we were doing with the Chrome extension and certainly with their response rates. Sometimes being 2, 3, 4 times better than what they were getting off of their, typical Apollo data or seamless data. So just, your batch and blast approach. So that was interesting. But the problem was, since we were mainly focusing on users when we built out the Chrome extension, it didn't really lend itself well to, marketing teams or anyone working on anyone else's behalf, because you use your social profile when you're using the extension, and it's really was designed for, really small micro targeting that, only a, salesperson might be doing in the moment. So, fast forward beyond that, we started seeing that more and more, also coupled with, seeing more agencies that are now trying to improve their lead generation services for their clients, wanting to use something like this. And again, it's the same situation. It just doesn't lend itself well, and doesn't have the scale when you're using a Chrome extension versus something, potentially in the cloud, or, what they're typically used to when they acquire data to do outbound lead generation. So there is certainly no room in Leadfwd's roadmap to try to, take that on. And there's already so much going on inside of Leadfwd. It was just not going to be a tenable situation to then try to dive into doing something completely different around the prospecting space beyond what our core competency is right now with our Chrome extension. So all that to say is there seemed to be a gap, and it was something that I wanted to play around with a little bit more to see, what value we might be able to add for teams that are trying to embrace social signals and triggers more, but just needed it on more of a scalable basis, and frankly, just running on autopilot. And that's really what getsignals does. I'd invite you guys to all go check out the website. There's a lot of great data on here in terms of what the product can do. And then there's about a 15-minute demo that gets, a little bit into the weeds on, product-wise, what we're doing with social signals, and gives, 2 really great examples. I'm going to spend a little bit more time in this video talking about how it integrates with Leadfwd, because that's really the discussion topic today in terms of what you can do with your existing Leadfwd plan, improving your outbound with getsignals by connecting it to Leadfwd, which we'll get into now. So just a quick recap. Again, probably the most common use case that we see with the Chrome extension is folks wanting to do three different things. One, to piggyback off of their competitors' posts and try to, extract their audience. Two, thought leaders in their industries that are posting about topics that are relevant to the ICP that they're trying to attract, and same concept going in and trying to pull, people that like or comment off those posts. And then the third has become something that the extension wasn't quite developed for, because it adds like a bit of a manual step in there, and that's going off after, topical posts. So, if I'll give you an example in a minute, but, with getsignals or even Leadfwd, if we're promoting ourselves and we're using, a tool like getsignals, we might want to look for anyone that's having conversations and engaging around cold email or go to market or, bootstrapping or SaaS or, sales pipeline. These types of subjects would attract an audience that we would want to reach. And this is the big difference between going with a, bulk data acquisition approach for building your outbound versus signals, because the signals tell you a lot more than static data ever will in terms of whether or not your prospects or your audience is problem aware. So folks that are following or engaging on posts about cold email or deliverability or about pipeline quality are probably aware that they have a problem, or they're trying to actively solve one, or they're looking for a solution. Not necessarily saying they're in market yet, like they're just blanketly going out there and saying, I'm looking for the best XYZ to accomplish X, although that does happen. So this becomes a little bit more contextual, and you get some more context around, who these folks are and what they're looking for. And just how far along their journey they might be in terms of, their awareness. They could be brand aware. These could be folks that are responding to, posts that you put out, or your company puts out, or your competitors put out. And that's really the type of signal that we're looking for is, are they aware? Are they actively, trying to find a solution? Are they engaging with a competitor? Are they engaging with our content? If so, what content? Or if they're engaging on certain topics. All of this can feed into a much warmer outbound program than what you would expect. Going back in time a bit, hopefully back in time anyway, to just buying static lists. So with that said, let me just show you a quick example of what that really means. So this is the dashboard for getsignals, and the primary vehicle that we're going to look at are our actual signals. And a signal is just a container that contains a rule around a trigger, the types of profiles that you want to track, or pages, and the types of engagement that you want to export, and then what you want to do with it. The big component to keep in mind with signals is they run on autopilot. So you'll create them, you'll schedule them, and then they run automatically. So the first one I want to show you is topical, and that's what I was just alluding to. So this signal is looking for new posts that mention cold email. And really quick, I'll just show you how the configuration looks. So the first step when you're building your triggers, your signals, you're gonna select the type of trigger. We have 5 different ones. The first one is new posts. So this is gonna look for new posts on a daily or weekly basis for any specific profile or page that you define. The next is for job changes. This one is going to look for any changes in specific social profiles that you define, and if there's been a company change or a job change. I like this for 2 very specific use cases. One, on deals that we're working to see if our champions, our influencers, or our stakeholders on any deal make a shift, or if they get a promotion. That's really important information to have. And then also for larger existing customers, whether it's renewals that you want to get ahead of, or if you're working on trying to actively grow business inside of an account. Again, knowing who the decision makers are and if there's been any changes at that level can be very useful, ahead of renewal cycles, or if you already have ongoing discussions for expansions within business. It's better to not be surprised. So that's what that one is typical for. But if you're running an account-based sales play and you want to drop in, any of your key accounts that you're running at any time, just to get an alert if there is any change in any of the accounts that you're actively working, it's great for that as well. The third is monitoring. So this would be the topical approach. This is by keyword. So you can see in my configuration, I'm looking for cold email. and up to 200 posts a day. So the 200 posts a day on its face may not sound like a lot, but I'll explain quickly why that can be a very large number. So first of all, not every topic, you're not going to get, that many people reliably talking about, maybe a niche topic that much. Cold email is pretty popular, so there's a lot of that. But the way to look at it is, you're going to start with 200 posts, right? Potentially, or up to 200. In that, you may want to engage the author that's created the post that's talking about cold email in this case. But then within that, you're going to have potentially reactions and comments to those posts, and you may want to extract that engagement and then engage those folks. So you can see there's a compounding effect that happens pretty quickly, and 200 posts can, in very short order, turn into thousands of potential contacts. So bear that in mind. The fourth is monitor by hashtag. That works very much the same way as the keywords, but you can define hashtags that you want to monitor. And then we have mentions, and these are nice whether you're monitoring your own brand or you're monitoring your company's brand or competitors or key accounts. This is going to be looking for posts that come from other people, but they're tagging, a personal profile or, a company page, so you can get an alert of that. Very, very good use case for competitors too. If you want to see, folks that are either potentially not satisfied with the service that they're getting from a competitor, that could be an opportunity to jump in. People that are tagging because they're asking for recommendations around multiple, companies that are in your particular field, or just generally seeing, and finding different accounts that might be using a competitor that you can engage as well. But also same thing with thought leaders. Very common that people will tag thought leaders, maybe even after a post, just elaborating on something that they were speaking to. And this is kind of a great way to start building out from a thought leader's audience and other people that maybe didn't like or comment on some of their posts that you've already saved using getsignals. And, you start, again, branching out pretty quickly from there. Now, mind you, all this is happening automatically on the back end. And that's kind of the hidden value. And probably the most important key that I should have led with is the big value with getsignals is you do not have to connect your social account. And I think I might have said it at the offset of the video or onset of the video, but if not, there's no cookie to share. There's no, using your social credentials to make this run or anything like that, which makes it, and that's why I say it does provide scale at that point, because you don't have to risk, your own accounts, which with the Chrome extension, one, it was always designed to be lower volume to begin with, because that's really the best practice. You are looking for a less is more approach with this type of prospecting. However, even trying to squeeze above 200, 250, contacts a day could be risky. And if you don't have a warm account, or if you don't have a lot of daily activity, that's going to be a roadblock for you, and it's going to create some friction. You don't necessarily want to create that type of risk. So this eliminates that. All right, so now getting into the actual configuration of a signal. So like I said, they run automatically in the background. You set the schedule that you want it to run. In this case, we export posts automatically. And then you can start getting very granular in what you do with the data that it finds. So with posts, you could send them out to a webhook automatically if you wanted to. Like I was alluding to, you could opt to export the post authors and engage those folks directly. You can add even more complex keyword filtering into your existing topical search. So like if we wanted to, right by default, we're obviously looking for cold email, but maybe we want to also have an additional keyword on top of that would have to appear. Maybe, go to market would have to appear, and then maybe, SaaS. So you can start getting very granular in what it is that you're, looking to get return. When you first start, you're probably going to want to cast a bit of a wider net so you can get familiar with the data, what's coming back, see what works. Also, if you're going with outbound, which chances are good that you are. So then there's that. Now engagement export. So this is kind of like the real magic, because this is where I think the real hidden value is. because this becomes just a continuous flow, almost like an evergreen campaign or feeding, an evergreen style campaign, because you can export reactions. So the default is to grab 50 new reactions for every post every time the signal runs. You can keep this low if you want to have like a bit of a throttle and you don't want to be pushing through a ton of data all the time. This doesn't mean that you're going to be restricted to 50 rows of reactions or rows of comments on the signal as a whole or on a post. All this means is that for every single post, it's only going to try to grab 50 each day or each time it runs, whether that's daily or weekly. But every day that it does run, and let's say, on day 5, you now accumulated 10 different posts. Well, each day it runs, we're going to go back and look at every single post and see if there's any more reactions that are either new or that we just didn't get on the last time the signal ran. So that's going to be, 50 every single day. And you're going to see that most of the activity happens on the front end. But this continuous updating of the post to continue on getting this data will run up until we're no longer getting any new reactions or new comments. So with the reactions, you can send these out to a webhook. So if you wanted to send them to a tool like Zapier or Make or Clay to do some more processing or enrichment, you can do that. If you want to export them as enriched contacts, what we're going to do is basically pull down all their profiles for each individual person as well as the company profile, and you end up with about 50 different data points that you can utilize in their profile. And then what you can do with that data is, once again, you can push that out to a third-party platform, or you can push it to one of our native integrations, Leadfwd being one of them. So that's one of the added values for that, is that the data enrichment is done instantly, and it's also going to be the most up-to-date data that you're ever going to be able to find on someone, since it's community driven and it's coming from their profile that they maintain. You can stipulate that you want to see a certain level of engagement from a profile, before you export them and engage them. So, for example, within this entire signal, we may want to see, John Doe like at least 3 different posts that come across in the signal on the topic of cold email before we opt to send him out. So it's just kind of creating a bit of a threshold where you say, well, I don't want to just get one person that's interested once. I want to see some more lively activity before we take the steps to push them into some type of outbound program. So it works the exact same for comments as well. All the same utility. And when you export profiles and rich contacts, that's what's going to trigger enabling our email enrichment, mobile enrichment options, and then also our outbound native integrations. So as you see here, we have Leadfwd, can enable email enrichment. And one of the benefits for Leadfwd users, and I'll show you this in the integration settings, but you can actually use your Leadfwd accounts for the email enrichment and mobile enrichment. So instead of using getsignals credits for the enrichment process here, you can just use your Leadfwd credits. So if you already have Leadfwd credits, you don't have to buy them twice or try to use them only in Leadfwd. They will work here, and I'll show you how to enable that. But let's say we're going through, we're going to export reactions after someone engages 3 times, someone that's again engaging with the topic of cold email, and then we're going to want to add them to a Leadfwd sequence. So we're going to enable Leadfwd. You'll notice that you have the same options that you do within the Chrome extension, and that is to either focus only on verified emails, or you can allow verified and risky, or if we don't find an email, we can add a placeholder email entry. So that would permit you to continue on with LinkedIn only outreach through a sequence, through the extension within Leadfwd. So all that's supported, and you can configure them. You go in here, select your sequence, and as these process and as reactions come in, which I'll show you now what that kind of looks like, then we would start pushing those folks into the sequence as they come in. So within the results of a signal, okay. So this is the signal results view, and this becomes your cockpit of sorts for all the data that's coming in from your signal. So you can see all the activity. Now, as I said, what I was alluding to with the 200 posts per day, just to give you an idea. So I think this has been running for, I guess a little over a week. And we've been exporting comments, and I've just been sending them to a Clay table because we've been testing that functionality. So as you can see already, we have 23,194 unique comments. So, you know, and this is just off of one signal, and this is just off of, one topic. So you can see how quickly, you can potentially, really pull in a lot of lead gen around your ICP, or a lot of prospects around your ICP. And these are not people that you're just pulling in based on, title, industry, geographical location, and all of that silliness. I mean, these are people that are following the topic that, ideally you are positioned to provide some solutions around. So from the view, we start with the main table, which is going to show us all the posts that we've brought in. If you have reactions enabled, you'll see a count here for how many reactions were found from the post so far. Same for comments. Again, not everything is going to have, a ton of activity. Of course, lots of people post, but don't have large followings. And in those cases, that's why I really like to fall back on also engaging with authors when it makes sense, because you don't need that. You don't need them to necessarily have a large following for them to be, a good prospect for you. So what you can do, is expand, see the posts as they're coming in. You have a slightly richer post, so you can see a little bit more data on, a particular author. Can expand to see comments that have come in. Let me find something that's a little beefier. Oh, here, Georgios. So again, it's designed to be almost social in nature. And you can see a little more here. Contacts. And you also are capable of taking some action in a non-automated sense as well. So, if you wanted to, when you're just kind of ramping up and getting used to the platform, you can actually kind of manually go through and pick folks out that you want to maybe enrich and export, find an email address for, push them out to, webhooks or other platforms like, Leadfwd. So if you're to do enrich and export, for example, then you can go to your contacts view and get signals and do some advanced segmenting and filtering around contacts that you've brought in from all your signals or specific signals, and decide which ones you want to push to Leadfwd as well. So it doesn't all have to be completely automated. Now, really quick, because I'm on 23 minutes already, so I'm sorry this has taken so long already. Two things I just want to cover really quickly. The first is, one of the big questions, as I've showed folks this, has been, okay, well, this could be, like, for example, 23,000 comments, and you want to maybe create those as contacts. How do you break through the noise to figure out who it is that you should be engaging with? So we have AI agents as part of the utility. And basically, AI agents allow you to create, find a good one here. So it allows you to connect your favorites large language model, whether it's OpenAI, Grok from XAI, Perplexity, Anthropic, if you want to use Claude. It allows you to connect to your own provider, and then you can write your own prompts, which can be completely personalized with all the data artifacts that we bring in, whether it's for posts or for contacts. And you can have them process the data. And, for example, some typical use cases would be qualifying ICP. So you can go through and say, this is the ideal, customer profile for getsignals. And, you can run through all that data. You can even use a model to help you write that and write a good prompt. But the whole idea would be to have the prompt go through every single contact and decide, yes, this is ICP, no, it's not ICP. And then you can take actions based on, that particular output. So whether it's yes, no, then you can add conditional actions in terms of what you want to do with it. This is for a post, but let me show you a contact that'll be a little more relevant. Here we go. So in this particular, this prompt, we're just doing some baseline qualification based on a contact's LinkedIn profile and the company profile. And we're just trying to decide if it's ICP. So what I've instructed the prompt to do is to respond with either ICP true or ICP false. If we come back with ICP true, I have all these different conditional actions that the AI agent will then take at that time. One is adding them to a lead forward sequence. One is adding them to a Hey Reach campaign. Another is just giving me an alert on Slack. So you can kind of see we have all these different options. Now this is just a demo, so it doesn't necessarily make any logical sense, but you can go through and connect it with any of our integrations. You can even hold off on doing and spending a credit on the waterfall email enrichment or mobile enrichment until it comes back and says that, you know, this is a verified as part of your ICP, or this is someone that you should reach. So all of this gets kind of molded into the AI agent's capabilities. You could also qualify posts. So you could have it go through posts and decide, like, is this going to attract the audience that is part of my ICP, yes or no? If yes, then great, then proceed with exporting the engagement if we have comments or reactions enabled. So it's a great way to, one, break through the noise, two, to also potentially save credits, because you're going to let the AI agent kind of do some of the heavy lifting so you don't get slammed with potential data that is just not going to be either part of your ICP or certainly not worth your time to engage. So that's AI agents. We're gonna have a lot more videos coming out in terms of like kind of optimizing this, because another great use case too, I know a lot of you use our extension for, is writing the icebreakers. The AI agents can write icebreakers as well. And on that would be a really good segue to show you the integration view for Leadfwd. So when it comes to the profile and company enrichment, like I said, you end up with about 50 or 60 data points that, you know, come off of all those social profiles that then you can also use to push into Leadfwd. So as part of the integration, you can set all of these different insights of, you know, based on what it is that you want or what is relevant for you. So all these get written as custom fields inside your Leadfwd contact database. And then on the icebreakers, so for example, in my demo account here, what I had done is the email icebreaker. So by default, you have a Leadfwd icebreaker custom field. And I had one AI agent set up to write a one-line icebreaker based on the prospect's LinkedIn profile. So then that automatically gets pushed to the Leadfwd icebreaker custom data property, and then that in turn is used inside of a email template that's part of a sequence. So when this particular, when each prospect gets pushed over to Leadfwd, then they're also getting their custom written icebreaker from an AI agent pushed over, and then that's automatically going into an email, or it could be going into a social campaign. So there's that. And then the last part that I want to show you is just quick one toggle if you want to use, you know, your Leadfwd API key to power the email finder and mobile finder inside getsignals. It'll use credits that are already in your account. So it makes it really simple for that. Now, just to clarify as well, so this is a sister product. Nothing is changing with your Leadfwd account. And, you know, we have over 1,000 daily users on the Chrome extension. So whatever you're doing with the Chrome extension now that's working for you, continue to use, you know, for our marketing teams and for our agency friends that are looking for something like I kind of defined right at the start of this video that's more scalable, that makes it easier to run these on, you know, behalf of either teams or of clients, or if you're just someone that needs, you know, more throughput than you can get through the Chrome extension without risking your account, then this is really for you. And we're opening it up initially to our Leadfwd community. There'll be, you know, custom plan options. If you're on our LTD, there will be a path for you. But really, we want to take care of our community first, because, you know, we've benefited so much from seeing how all of you folks have been using that. And I've really rolled that into this product to kind of, I'd say, start solving the next set of problems, because pipelines are drying up, and it's becoming harder and harder in the B2B space to reliably build top of funnel flow. It's incredibly challenging, and there's really no moats left. The only moat might be social signals, because it's the only channel for prospecting that just is not saturated yet. It's not, and now's the time to get in. Especially if you have competitors that are not embracing this yet. This is like probably the ultimate cheat code right now. If you are in a space where your competitors are not yet aware of social signals, or they're just not embracing them, then this is totally for you. One more thing, totally forgot, just for our agency friends, workspaces. We have workspaces in getsignals, and it works in a very similar fashion to the way it works inside of Leadfwd. You can create completely dedicated and isolated accounts. One-click access to move in and out of an account. You can add and provision credits on an individual account basis, which I'll show you really quickly. You can optionally allow your clients to have access or not. It's completely up to you, because each is a completely isolated and unique account. You can create your own plans for these clients. Just like, for example, if you wanted to, I'm going to send 5,000 credits to client WS5. And it's really just that simple. And there's their workspace credits. Now, if you want to, at any point, you can remove credits. If you have a client that cancels, you just want to reclaim the credits, you can do that. But that's one thing I did not want to gloss over. And I think this will be really useful as well, both from the scale side, but also being able to easily manage your clients. Okay, I'm sorry, it's now 31 minutes in. I hope this has been helpful for everyone. If you stuck through right to the very end, thank you. Feel free to shoot back any questions for me. If this is interesting for you, let me know, because we're basically just going to create an invite list so everyone can go create their accounts. Every free account comes with 50 credits, so you can really get in and play around with it, see if this is a fit for you. And let me know if you're interested, because like I said, we're going to have custom plans for our existing Leadfwd customers and accounts. If you are on, the LTD, then, we'll have an upgrade path for you, so you get access to this as well. So thank you, everyone. Cheers. Hope everyone has a great week, and we'll talk to you soon.